Every quarter, we have a SREC gathers together, all 64 of us, 62, 2 from each Senate district, and the chair and the vice chair. And we have committee meetings on Friday, and then we have the full body meets on Saturday. And we have the vice chair speaks, the chair speaks. Sometimes we'll hear from the National Committeeman and women, and then we have other reports from committees and things. So this is the layout. So you got Dana Myers, who's the vice chair, Matt Rinaldi's the chair. Don Huffines actually came and he did some support for us, actually provided lunch for us, which is nice. And then we have other items. So one of the things that I took from what Dana Myers said was, it's our job to represent the party. Our values, our platform, how do we build for the future? We're the voice of reason to navigate and move in the same direction. Not stipulating that we all believe the same thing, but move in a direction united for the purpose. You know, we have a platform, it's got a lot of things in it, and not each plank does everybody believe strongly in. The focus is everybody has to believe in our principles. So we're a resource for county organizations, we being the RPT, the Republican Party of Texas. Election integrity is important. We want to look at patterns, find issues, work on legislation to fix. So then Matt Rinaldi came along and he was talking a lot about elections, and they were disappointing. He noted that we did get redder statewide. Compared to 2 years ago, we've won by wider margins this year. The initial polls had us at a 6 to 8 point margin going in, but we won by double digits. There were some shifts, but we hope to see more shift in the valley that we didn't see. Nationwide, we did well where we support life. Big thing is we need good candidates. We had lots of candidates out there. Not all of them were good. We did get outspent. We can't concede early voting and mail-in voting. He believes in one-day voting, paper ballots, and absentee for cause.
Amen.
There is a bill, they want to make Election Day a holiday. Well,
Amen.
Maybe you could make it a holiday and skip some of the early voting stuff. But if you make it a holiday, then you would, we'd get back to precinct level voting instead of countywide.
That's good.
So we did have one state that had a good wave, and that was Florida. It was purple, but it's no longer. It's a bold message, freedom, optimism, and better tomorrow, and that won that, and not delve into culture wars. Then we have a committee on election integrity, which is actually an ad hoc committee that we brought over from last 2 years. In 2020, we had one, and we maintained it in this year. And Senator Bob Hall spoke some, and he says, there are issues with machines, and we have rules for 3 types of elections. We have rules for early voting, we have rules for election day, and we have rules for mail-in ballot. We don't need separate rules for early voting and election day.
Amen. Yep.
So they should be the same. His view is to eliminate the gap between early voting and election day of 3 days that we had. But from a logistics standpoint, I don't know how we would do that in the current setup and get equipment out to all the places that we need and get people to be able to pick it up. Well, yeah, if you get rid of early voting, it eliminates the gap entirely. As the Election Integrity Committee, they participate in some national calls dealing with technology, the campuses, vulnerable voters, militaries overseas, and ERIC. So the topics this year in the legislature have to do with machines, mail-in ballots, signature verification, the voter rolls, and banning ranked choice voting and stopping waivers from the SOS. The intent is to get rid of ERIC or to but in the law, we have to participate in a national program to verify the voter rolls. And currently, that's the only one that's really out there, so I'm not sure how that's going to work in the legislature.
What is ERIC?
Yeah, what is ERIC again?
The acronym, it's a nationwide program that if you move to another state, that it's supposed to then notify your state that you moved from, that you moved to eliminate you from the voter roll. That's the intent. Now, what it's being used as quite often is a means of acquiring voter rolls for people doing nefarious things.
Yep.
One state actually cut out.
So, and one of our committees is a resolutions committee where we funnel resolutions to prior to Austin, and then they discuss those resolutions in committee, and they present resolutions that they pass to the full body where we vote on them. So there were some censure rules that were that came to the resolutions committee, and they were sent back to the county for some clarification. There was a resolution on Texas House leadership that was passed 58-5 as amended. There's a resolution on Montgomery County, being that the Republican Party of Montgomery County is sort of split into two factions. And we had that resolution passed 57-4 as amended. There was a resolution on life in the womb that passed unanimously. There's a Keep 9 amendment regarding the Supreme Court that passed. There was one defend medical freedom, one regarding new leadership in the RNC that basically said, we've had the same leadership since, 2016, and we may need some new leadership at the RNC to get better results. There was a resolution regarding voter suppression in Harris County based on the last election. And then there was a resolution for county to follow rules, and that resolution was postponed indefinitely, partly because there wasn't enough information on the resolution to discuss it. We had legislative priority committee met and approved bills. In election integrity, most of them were to increase penalties. We had one from Slayton to create a closed primary. In border security, we had some bills regarding the interstate compact. In gender modification, we've got various bills that take different approaches. One has to do with liability insurance. One is to call it child abuse. They added a criminal penalty to it. And Harrison, who was on Trump's medical group, he's trying to prohibit physicians from doing it. And so those are the different ones that passed. Under the Stop Sexualizing Kids priority, we had four bills that passed, or that are approved by us to actually try to get them passed in the legislature that deal with repealing the obscenity exemption. We having some bills regarding defending gun rights. There was a bill that Patterson had that basically said election judges that have a license to carry can. And then we have abolish abortion, one bill that to teach life begins at conception, and to penalize logistical support. And then there's some parental rights and education that we're trying to get parents the rights to know that they should, to reduce the issues regarding Freedom of Information Acts and how much it costs. I'm on the Legislative Priorities Committee, and my two focuses are stopping sexualizing kids and parental rights. So I focus a little more on those, and then those are the eight. Those are 7 of the 8 priorities. The 8th priority that was passed had to do with banning dem chairs, which is not a priority, so there won't. It's not legislation, so there won't be a bill on it. Engagement committee met. Howard Barker proposed his proposal to engage students in high school. We're the party of opportunity and morals. We need to partner with colleges, and they are working with U.S. Pastors Council to grow the party. Local government, which is a nonpartisan race, we now actually have a local government committee at the state level, like we have within the county level. But one of the things is, at the state level, we won't endorse a candidate unless the county party does. It's one of our rules that we work by. So if a local candidate wants to get endorsement from the state, once they get endorsement from the county, they can submit a short version information to us, and we can get that out to them. It's an endorsement application and endorsement agreement that we ask for. And that's the end of my presentation.
Just a quick question, I heard you mention it. Thought, Democratic chairs.
Yes.
What the heck is going on with that?
Okay.
Sorry, Tom, I had to talk to you about it.
All right. So, Democratic chairs, you have a couple things on that. One is, you do have, we have a 86 to 64 majority, okay? You need 100 people to get a bill into the floor. So it's not, we do have to work with Democrats still, okay? Just because we're in the majority doesn't mean we get to do everything we want. Now, the other key to that is there are some committees that we don't have we don't have priorities bills going to them. And so if you give them something, then you'll keep them focused and busy doing something else and not bothering our bills. If they don't have anything to do, they're coming after you. Now, as far as where the bills what committee the bills get assigned to, that's up to the speaker. He assigns the bills to committee. And they assign them in bunches of about 400 bills at a whack, sometime later part of mid-February or later. The last term, Dutton was in education, okay? And we did have some bills going there. But he wasn't the problem regarding getting rid of having school choice. He's actually in favor of it. Uberty was the problem.
Puberty and,
So, yeah.
Hey Tom, first, good job on the SREC. I think you guys did a fabulous job, really good job. My question is more about what can we do since we seemingly have elected the same speaker to a second term. I feel as if though we don't have accountability there for the dastardly lack of success last session. What can we do as a group to apply maximum pressure to ensure that some of the same things that happened last legislative session do not happen this time, particularly with regard to the Speaker of the House?
Okay, so the question being, what's your focus on legislation? Your focus is legislation. That's what this is all about. So identify what bills, that you're in favor of, that you're against. Go to Austin and speak on them. Now, you can also meet with staff. Let staff of legislatures, staff of the speaker, and discuss it. One of the things that I have the luxury of is that I actually can sit down with Steve Ministeri on a regular basis, because I don't attack people. I deal with the issues of the bill. So you get some of the personalities out of the way, and they will speak with you. What else can I say?
Other questions?
Yeah, Tom, I just had a quick question for you. Could you go just a little bit into detail about what that Amendment 9 bill was about, or legislative priority?
It's a resolution that basically says the keep nine is, right now, there's actually no constitutional requirement to have 9 Supreme Court justices. Okay? We think that that's a good mix. If you start adding more Supreme Court justices, they're going to be focused depending upon who selects them, and we think that that would be bad for the country.
Yeah, I agree. I just, it wasn't clear on the slides.
Now, if Bill can send out the slides so that y'all can download a version of them.
Hey, quick question, Tom.
Yep.
Actually, 2 questions, if you don't mind. I know Tom Alverson, Dr. Alverson talked about the rules changes he'd like to do for those Democratic people who left
Right.
and punish them,
Right.
take away the things. One, is that going to happen at a certain time? And then the second question is, I know that Lieutenant Governor came out with his priorities.
Right.
Has the speaker come out with his priorities as well? Do we know what his priorities are for legislative session?
I haven't heard from the speaker, his priorities. So if you look at the legislative, if you get my legislative spreadsheet, there are 30 bills, I think there's 30 bills in the Senate that are at the top that are blank, and there's 20 bills in the House that are blank. So those bills will get filled in with bills that have already been given a number if they fit the priorities of the speaker and of the lieutenant governor. So those become then their bills. But I haven't seen his priorities specified for the speaker because, well, he's not yet the speaker. So the Republican caucus met December 3rd and voted on who they want to be speaker. It was 78-6 in favor of Phelan, and it's an item in the platform that says we wanted them to vote together to pick a speaker, and we also asked them to maintain whoever they selected as the speaker. And that's what's in the platform. Now, we also have requests in the platform for no damn chairs, but we don't think that that's going to happen based on that. Also, on December 6th, the House administration met and heard some rule proposals. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to listen to that, but rules will be voted on. So January 10th is swearing in when all the new members get sworn. Well, when all the members get sworn in, and it's mostly a family day for the members. January 11th and 12th is when they'll sit and talk about rules in the House chamber. Okay.
Got time for one more question. Go ahead, Judy.
what's the timeline then for when the actual, after the speakers and they are sworn in, what is the timeline for the chairs to be identified and?
Right. Chairs are usually identified by sort of like the 21st, maybe January, I think, is the target, I would say. And the members selected to the committees by the end of the month. But going back on the rules, there was a rule that, Representative Alverson was, he does want to see a penalty as far as if you leave, that, you lose, potentially you lose your chairmanship. The other thing was that if you leave, until you sign back in and officially are back, you shouldn't be able to go to committee hearings either. So those are the two items that get talked about in the rules.
So, back to these confounded members and specifically the Education Committee.
Yeah.
I know all of us agreed to in that meeting that we really need to have some work done on that committee. How can we make that happen to get some changes made on that committee?
Well, okay, so Uberty's no longer there on the
I
committee.
know.
But I don't have any idea how, I mean, the members will ask for what committee assignments they want when they have a discussion with the speaker. And that happens in January. It may have already happened in some cases. Well, I know in some cases it already has happened. So, the members will let him know, and then based on the information he gathers, he'll make assignments.
All right, let's give Tom a hand for that presentation.